Happy to be joined once again by Slippery Pete, Peter Barrett, who will make his official UFC debut on August the 8th when he meets Steve Garcia. How are you, Pete?
Good, man. Thanks for having me on the show. I love stopping by and getting to chat with you.
Hey, it's always a pleasure, and I'm really excited, man. I know you had a fight lined up in April, I believe, to make your UFC debut. Obviously, the coronavirus put the kibosh to that. Here we are now, a few months later. You must be really excited. Tell me, how did you get the call?
Yeah. So, I mean, everything from having that fight canceled, trying to figure out how to train, like, it was wild. It was crazy. You know, I started watching the fight, seeing, what everybody else looked like when they were coming into the cage. And, of course, me in my own head, whoever I was going to fight was training with their wrestling coach, their head coach, every day, getting rounds upon rounds of jiu-jitsu. And I was just in a situation where I wasn't able to do that. And I kind of like got down on myself and built it up to be much a bigger foe than it really needed to be. And, like I said, once I started to see what other athletes look like performing under these circumstances, it was get in shape, get on weight, call Sean Shelby, and get a fight scheduled as soon as possible. Everybody was locked in their house. Everybody was doing as much as they could. Everybody's on the page right now. I mean, of course, your main card fighters are putting on the caliber fights that you would expect. But the undercards, it's a bunch of guys doing as best as they can with what they've got, and they're going out there and they're fighting and they're showing up and they're doing their job. And like, I wanted to be a part of that as soon as possible. I got my ass in shape. I got some small groups together and started training. And we reached out to Sean. We got an email about a week later. Hey, can he make weight on this date? Steve Garcia, cool fight. What do you guys think? And we said, hell yeah, let's do it. Let's rock and roll. It's time. I think it's a great matchup. It's on paper. It's a fantastic fight. The fans are gonna, they're gonna win that night too. I'm looking, we'll talk about it, but it was just an awesome matchup. From the get-go, from the rip. Great. Love the name. Love the fight. Love the setup. Love the stylistic matches. So yeah, I'm excited.
So tell me, you were originally slated to face Danny Henry. How different will this be stylistically now that you're facing Garcia?
Garcia's a southpaw. That's about it. Both guys were strong strikers. I would say mid-level wrestling, decent ground game. We didn't see much of the wrestling or the jiu-jitsu out of them in their most recent fights, but they have very good anti-jiu-jitsu, anti-wrestling, or wrestling defense, however you want to look at it. They know how to keep the fight standing. They both are good on the cage. So stylistically, the only difference is Garcia's a southpaw. Otherwise, we were preparing for an aggressive striker, and Garcia's an aggressive striker. So like I said, you couldn't have asked for a better matchup.
I know more than anything, you just wanted to get in the cage officially for your UFC first fight, and now you got it. So there you go. I'm really happy for you there. Tell me, as far as training has gone, how has that looked with your training partners and trying to make that work? Because I know you bounce around to a couple different spots. How has that looked on a week-to-week basis for you?
So everybody's still closed. The governor of Massachusetts just said Monday gyms can start opening up under certain guidelines, which MMA gyms aren't able to adhere to those guidelines because of the close proximity that you need with things like jiu-jitsu and wrestling. So Lozon's is still closed. Sityodtong, as of right now, is still closed. My strength and conditioning coach, because he's like a studio gym, he was able to take pro athletes a couple weeks ago. So I've been with him consistently for the last month and a half. So it's been really cool to see martial arts get like driven underground again in small groups, coming together, getting mats together, finding a place that's neutral for everyone. We've got guys from different gyms coming down just to get jiu-jitsu rounds, get some flowy rounds, get all sorts of work. So it's we've got a couple different Facebook groups we update each other as to when we're going to be where, and we try to make them work.
How does your work schedule look during this time? I know it must be rather difficult to pay the bills and do what you need to do during, a downtime where, restaurants aren't open. I know that's what you've done previously.
Yeah, I am on unemployment. So because of everything with the corona, the relief package that went out, Massachusetts, everybody's getting, a third or whatever of what they're making X amount of whatever they made on paper, plus an extra $600. So I'm living on like $700 a week right now. It's not great. It's not ideal, but I can make it work. And it just is, I can't, there's not much I can do to change it. Of course, I do run privates and one-on-one sessions with people, but pretty much it's $700 a week. So it sucks, but it just keeps my money on my food and my training and my gas and my bills.
That's got to at least help you a little bit with the weight cut. You're not ballooning up during this time, right?
Yeah, I mean, shitty food's cheap. So I could have gotten real fat real easy. I'm pretty sure I can get a gallon of ice cream for $1.99. But all my food, organic, grass-fed beef, all to the nines. If I'm not getting butcher box, now that I'm in fight camp, I get the money, I get the meal plan through the UFC, which is awesome. So it's like, it just really makes you look at what you spend your money on.
Yeah, no doubt. Now, I have relatives all over Massachusetts. I'm a little further northeast in Maine. Before this pandemic hit, I was down there visiting a cousin of mine, and she was driving around, and she's flipping people off and calling them names. I know how drivers are in Massachusetts. So having said that, how has it been like down around there during this pandemic? Is everyone more ornery and crotchety, or, have things been a little more chill?
So, thankfully, a lot of people stay home, and the roads have been unpopulated, and it's been easy to get around. But every day there's more and more people on the road. But I'm driving to Somerville up to Siatong. I'm seeing, rush hour on the way out of the city. It looks like it did, in January. So people are definitely getting back to work. People are definitely back on the road. I was just telling my brother, I was like, man, I wish half these people just didn't start driving again, because you just see the amount of morons on the road that haven't driven for the last 3 or 4 months, and now they're getting back on the road. And granted, I'm saying all this while driving and FaceTiming you, and we're recording a conversation, but I'm not necessarily focused on you, but we're having a good time. So yeah, it's crazy, man. Everybody's back on the road.
Yeah. Now, I know you like team sports as well. What are your thoughts on things getting back to normal and like the pro, leagues as far as NBA, NFL, and everything starting back up when they're supposed to?
So, the only radio I listen to, if I'm not listening to like an audiobook, is sports radio. So I've got an idea of what's going on. But my initial response was, Major League sports are coming back, not because they want to, but because people hate being alone with themselves, and they can't handle not having something else to focus on. I truly believe that's at the heart of the fans saying, I think MLB should come back. They get paid millions of dollars. They should be able to go live in a hotel for 6 months for my enjoyment. Like, give me a break. Like, there was an argument for a while where they were saying, if Army people can leave their families for 8 months at a time and you get paid millions of dollars to play baseball, you can go live in a hotel for 2 months until we get this figured out. Like, come on, you guys, like, there's a level of accountability there that's not being taken. Like, a lot of people do not like to be alone with themselves and their families, so they resort to sports to occupy their time. And now that they don't have it, they're kicking and screaming about it. And that's, like, how I honestly feel about that whole situation. I think it's ridiculous to make a Major League Baseball player leave his family for 2 months because fans want sports back on. Like, they're going through the same stuff you're going through. They just have more money and more problems. Cut them some slack. Like, you're not going to work. You're at home. The players union was ready to go to bat for them, so they didn't have to go back. But because fans demanded it, everybody's getting back. And also, the owners were concerned about losing money and that whole aspect of it too. But it's like, at some level, like, y'all got to come to grips with being okay with being alone and not having a constant stimulation in front of you.
What do you think is going to happen, though, as far as, them starting back up? Do you anticipate these sports to come and, actually hold live events like the UFC is doing? Or do you think that we're going to see a postponement and cancellation of these pro leagues?
No, I think from what I understand, there's a handful of players in every league that don't want to come back and they don't want to play and they're going to sit out this season. If that's what they want to do and they've got the money to float that and do that, good for them. But I do think that now that I've listened to the negotiations, a lot of players are on board, a lot of owners are on board. I think we're going to see closed events, closed arenas. Do I agree with it? Who knows? That might be another conversation. But yeah, I think we're going to see a lot of closed events for the rest of the year, definitely, and probably for the first half of the next year.
Yeah, I think unfortunately you are correct, and that's probably what is going to transpire here moving forward. I do want to get your take, Pete, on the UFC featherweight division. Obviously, that's where you were going to be fighting your next or your debut fight here for the UFC. Man, there was a fantastic fight between Shane Burgos and Josh Emmett. Might have been the fight of the year. What was your take away on that fight, and just how tough is Josh Emmett after having all those injuries and being able to follow through and fight?
So I met Josh Emmett in 2012, I think I was out at Team Alpha Mill I went out there maybe for a week or two to train and then went up to Tahoe for the 4th of July. So he's another guy in MMA who's just a super nice, respectful dude, looks you clear in the eye when he's talking to you, super polite, well-mannered, love watching that guy fight. And that was a banger, probably one of the top fights of the year. And it's just, not that it sucks for the fans, but that fight happened. Everybody's mind was blown, and then Poirier comes out with Hooker, and they beat the snot out of each other too, and everybody's focused on that. I feel like that fight didn't get its proper just a week after. Every focus went from that fight to that. If those fights were so apart, you would have spent 6 months talking about the previous fight until that next fight had happened. But because they were boom, boom, back to back, Emmett's fight didn't get the proper. I mean, it did, but we just got spoiled with two bangers, so close to each other that both are going to be fights of the year. Definitely, probably top fights in each weight division. So I think it was an awesome fight. I love watching Josh Emmett do well. Super nice dude. Burgos, he seems like a pretty well respectable dude too. You know what I mean? I love the upper level of athletics where you just get a bunch of good people that are really good at what they do trying to compete.
Yeah, no doubt. I do want to get some featherweight fight picks from you. Obviously, we have the championship coming up here this weekend between Volkanovski and Holloway, and then you have Calvin Kattar and Dan Ige. Who do you like in both of those fights and why?
Kattar, I mean, come on, Calvin's my boy. That's a silly question. I would expect you to understand that answer.
Of course.
I have been nothing but blown away by Calvin's discipline throughout all of this. I mean, I crumbled under pressure. He got stronger. And I have no issue admitting that. When everything got locked down and I was alone in my own head, and I had to try to put a training camp together by myself because of my situation that I was in, living with a first responder who was going to work and dealing with COVID positive people every day. It just, until we knew what it was, I couldn't, in a clear mind, have people in my house. Now we've got a better idea. It's a changed situation, but the fact of the matter is I crumbled in that situation, and I just saw Calvin rise up to put on one of the best performances he ever has, And I think this next week is just going to be more of the same. Calvin looking great, beating people up, getting closer and closer to that title shot.
I do want to say this. I completely agree with you. I think Calvin's going to go in there and win, and I think he's going to win probably in dominant fashion. However, I will say I feel like this is kind of a scary, I don't want to say trap fight, but he's such a heavy favorite, and many people feel like he's going to walk through Ige, that it could be one of those fights where maybe do you see where I'm coming from? Do you see that angle?
Yeah, I do, because Ige is no joke. Don't get me, I'm not writing him off by any means. I'm just very confident because I know how Calvin trains and I know where his mind is at and I know how rock solid he is, that it doesn't matter what Ige brings. Ige is a top game contender. That dude can fight. He's proven it multiple times. He's number 11 in the world. Does it make sense? Calvin's number 5, fighting number 11 when he's on a winning streak? No, but was that the only guy that was ready that made sense for him to fight? Maybe. So you don't really know what else is going on in the division, who's ready, who's not, who's training. Dana came out and said, if anybody's not training, do not feel pressured like you have to fight. Take care of you and yours. When you're ready to fight, you let us know, reach out, and we'll get you scheduled. Mm-hmm. And so maybe there's no one else really, ready for him to fight. But he was ready. He signed the contract, right? Turned around real quick. And, I just think Calvin's on fire right now.
Yeah, no arguments for me there. I do expect Calvin to go in and get the W here come, almost 2 weeks from now. Now, also, Holloway, Volkanovski, too. Tell me who wins that one.
Man, that was such a good fight. And unfortunately, when that fight went off, I was working, so I was, watching it on my phone while slanging drinks. So, I could only watch bits and pieces, and I had, some of my regulars watching it and telling me what was going on. But I remember that fight was super close, and it was a fucking banger. So I'm just hoping for a high-quality fight with full 25 minutes, or maybe, let's say, 23 and a half minutes, and then someone knocks somebody out or someone taps someone out. I want to see a high-pace, high-skill, high-level fight for 25 minutes and just be entertained and be a fan.
Yeah, well, this is going to be a fantastic card, top to bottom. We got some fantastic fights here on this UFC 251. I do want to ask you too, buddy. This fight, your fight, is supposed to be tentatively scheduled in Vegas at the Apex. Are you bummed that you're not going to Abu Dhabi? Would you like to have gone there, or are you happy you're going to be staying in the States?
To paint the picture complete full circle, I reached out to the UFC hoping for 6 to 8 weeks notice back in May, and they said, can he make weight in 2 weeks? I said no. So when that happened, we knew that I could be, as long as I was ready, I could get 2 weeks notice to fight. So when we reached out 2 weeks ago, I was prepared to cut weight on 2 weeks notice and get my ass out to Abu Dhabi if I had to. But they came back with August 8th, and I just want to fight. I want to fight. I think I can squeeze off 3 fights this year, get my hand raised 3 times, maybe put an extra $150,000 in the bank, and start chopping away at some higher level featherweights. I'm going to be 34 this year. It's no joke. It's no secret. So we got to kind of put the pedal to the metal. Get my first, couple fights at that income secured, win, renegotiate, new contract, and start chipping away. And I just, I'm on a mission, and this is, man, I'm just excited to fight.
Another guy I recently interviewed was Joe Jannetty, and he made it clear he wants to fight you. He would love that opportunity. Can you give me a little of the backstory there from your end? It seems to be there's no love lost there.
Yeah, he's just a really immature kid that you will take any opportunity to try to ride someone else's coattails and put his name in someone else's mouth. There's no love lost there. He just is what he is. He likes to be a bully. He likes to shoot his mouth off. In person, he's the most sheepest, whatever. I don't need to go on about it because this will just revive it. Who he is on social media is not who he is in real life, and I don't need that kind of shit in my life. I've moved on. He'll never fight me. I'll never fight him. He blew his chance in the UFC. I really don't think he's on anybody's radar. You got served a UFC contract on a silver platter and then they took it away. You know what I mean? How do you blow a tough finalist spot? Mm-hmm. I just grow up, dude. You know what I mean? We're athletes. We're professional athletes. You got to act like it. You can't just run around, run your mouth off, miss weight a bunch. You know what I mean? And not show up to fight. So, if you never mentioned his name to me again, I would be grateful. You know what I mean? This kid's not even in my rear view. So it's just, yeah.
Understood. One last question, just to follow up on that. You mentioned the weight. I mean, obviously you're fighting at featherweight. He fights at lightweight. I'm not sure if he'd be able to cut down to 145, but if the UFC were to sign him and he's in there and they wanted to match you two, would you jump at that chance?
Oh, for sure. I mean, if we're gonna fight, we're gonna fight. I'm not. I honestly don't believe he'll ever be in the UFC again. So it's not even anything I put any energy towards. I haven't thought about that kid's name in probably close to a year. So if it ever happened and he came down to 145, sure. I'd like to see the discipline out of that kid to make weight at 145. It'll never happen. He can't make 155. He let a promotion fly him to London to miss weight. So I don't see him making 145 in any near future. But
Fair enough. I won't bring it up again. I just had to do my job and ask.
Yeah, no, I feel you. I know. He, like I said, he'll take any opportunity to get his name in someone's mouth.
So this camp here, I mean, we still got a month before the fight, a little over a month at that. Tell me, who will be the main training partners for you moving forward as you're getting into the most important, weeks of camp here?
So I've reached out to Nate Andrews. He lives down in Rhode Island. Chip Maraza Pollard is Lion Fight champion, close friend, training partner of mine. One of his students, Josh Hagloff, another long fighter. So I'm just looking for 6-foot southpaws. If you qualify as a 6-foot southpaw, and you live in the Northeast area and you're willing to drive to Boston, call me. But I've shot the name around. Connor Barry's going to come. I got to reach out to Connor Barry, former opponent. Tom Pags, one of Rob Font's students. Let's see. We got a slew of guys over at SIT that are coming in to get work with me. Jeff Perez, he's like our wrestling coach over there. He's I think he's like a 6-2, 6-1, maybe 7-1 pro fighter as well. So I mean, we pick and choose body types for sparring. I roll with a bunch of guys 3 or 4 times a week. There's always like a revolving door of the same 10 people that come through. So it's just train, have fun, get in there, get my hand raised. So as long as, if you can play a southpaw and we've trained before, they're probably in my camp helping me out right now.
And so who will be making the trip with you to Vegas to be in your corner come the big night?
So I've got to work the details. It's between 4 people, and it'll likely be one of my striking coaches, Andy Cody, crew Mark Delagrati, and Joe Lozon.
All right, so let's talk about this stylistic matchup with Steve. You've already said 6-foot southpaw. That's who you're bringing in here. Where do you feel like you're going to hold the biggest advantages in this fight?
Everywhere. I mean, I've done some homework, taken some notes. I've got Joe watching. I've got Tyson watching. I've got Andy watching. I've got Chip watching. I've got crew Mark watching. They're all finding different things. We're all seeing the same things. And from what I see, he doesn't really do well with southpaws. So, you want to see what I do to southpaws? Go watch my fight with Zach DiSabatino. The kid didn't last a round. I put my knee through his face about 15 times. He doesn't seem to stylistically match up with another southpaw well. He doesn't like to check kicks. He's very, I've studied him. He's heavy off his left side. He doesn't set things up. Doesn't use a jab. Rips body kicks. He's just. We've got him pegged. We know how to do it. He's missed weight 2 out of the last 3 times. So, I hope old boy shows up on weight, makes 145 because he missed before the contender, he missed on the contender, and I think he missed after the contender, and then he went and fought at 155. So, all things equal, I'm looking at full package. This kid's not making weight. His fight off LFA was super lucky. The ref gave him a gift. I hope he thanked the ref and sent some flowers after. Because I mean, you just look at it and the ref stops the fight and the kid just looks at him like, "What are you doing, buddy?" He elbowed me in the hand, but he gasses in the first round. He gasses in the second round. He breathes heavy by the 3-minute mark. I've got all my cues. We're watching. We're doing our homework. I'm gonna destroy this kid. I'm gonna pick him apart. I'm coming home with an extra $50,000, He hasn't been knocked out recently, and I'm putting old boy to sleep. Definitely putting this kid to sleep.
What round?
I want to turn around. Like, I'm not looking past him. In my head, I'm seeing another fight before November. So I want to get in there and get out of there. We're not paid by the minute. Get in there, get it done quick. First round, I really don't think he's going to do well stylistically with another southpaw. Obviously, if he does, I've got other tools in my arsenal. But he fights a style that's very similar to one of my teammates, and my man Rico is going to be coming in, ripping that crazy boxing that this kid also brings to the table. So I see loopy punches, I see long loopy kicks, all with power, but it doesn't set him up. So I'm going to bring a higher level striker that fights that way, that can mimic that already fights that way, that can bring the pace that he can't. So we're going to be super prepared. We're going to be ready to go, and I'm getting my hand raised after the first round.
Yeah, well, no doubt. I'm really excited for this one, man. I'm happy that you're actually getting that UFC debut in the books and making it happen in front of the world to see. Are you a little disappointed, though, it's not going to be in front of fans? It's going to be basically just in front of a few spectators?
I really don't care, because I already fought in that venue. It's not going to be new to me. I fought in a quiet arena. It's not going to be new to me. The best part about this fight is I don't have to watch the intro video with me crying like a little girl talking about my brother and my dad, because that shit sent me on a trip before I walked into that venue last time, and I'm just happy that I'm going to have some music that's going to be making me smile from ear to ear, partying the whole way to the cage.
Very cool. Well, listen, again, I always really appreciate the time, man. Best of luck here, staying healthy and having a great camp leading up to the fight. If there's anyone you want to thank or plug your social media, the floor is yours.
Yeah, so check me out, Slippery Pete 145 on Instagram. That's where I'm most active. If you're local to Boston, check out Zenden in Norwell. They are a huge help. I go there for a lot of my manual therapy, physical therapy, float, cryo, guided meditation. They've got yoga. They check out Zenden. They're the best. They help me out a lot. Sit Tong, Lausanne's MMA, Skill of Strength. Mike Perry is an absolute mad scientist in the gym with us. He creates some of the best conditioned fighters that I've ever seen fight. So check him out. And then ButcherBox, they always help me out. DGAF, hit up DGAF, ogdgaf.com or dgafclothing.com. Go check out Chucky Chuck. He hooks it up big time. I've been rolling with those guys for a grip. Let's see who else. There's someone big that I'm not thinking of. I don't know. Check out my social media. All my posts have all my sponsors on them. I'm missing someone. And Top Game Management. Shout out to Tyson Chartier. He hooks it up. The best game planner in MMA, no doubt, hands down. So check out my team, guys. Check out my tribe. We rock it. We kill it.